tonight. All right, so without further ado, I promised you we'd be joined by this lovely lady. She is the sister to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's been in the news a lot lately, if you've been covering it. I have so much respect for her. She's also the president of the RFK Human Rights Organization, and it's a pleasure to have Kerry Kennedy joining us right now on the line. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm so great. So happy to be with you this morning. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. First of all, my first question for you is tell us why you're here in Las Vegas today.
Well, no, let me explain that because, as you said, I'm the president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, which is an organization started by my father's family and friends to carry forward his unfinished work on social justice in 1968. But today, I'm here without that hat on because that's a 501c3 organization and it's nonpartisan. But today, I'm here because I am partisan in this election, and I'm doing everything I can to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States.
And I appreciate that. We are certainly on the same side here. I have to ask you this. Did you see this coming with your brother? Did you see that he was going to be endorsing Donald Trump? Did you know this before, or did this come to a surprise to you, Kerry?
No, I think it was a surprise. I think he had indicated quite clearly that he would never join the Trump campaign because they have such fundamentally different values. But, I think that what's happened here is that he endorsed somebody who my father, the original Robert Kennedy, would have detested. He would have detested almost everything about Donald Trump and what he represents. His lying, his selfishness, rage, cynicism, hatred, racism, fascist sympathies, deliberate misinformation about vaccines, criminal felony convictions, his rape of E. Jean Carroll,
right,
his contempt for the poor.
Yeah, listen, Kerry, I agree with you 100%. So, Kerry, why is it you think that your brother eventually did this? Do you think he did it for selfish reasons because he wants a job in Trump's cabinet? Why do you think your brother ended up doing this?
I think this election is not going to be about my brother Bobby or about me or about anything or even about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's going to be about what Americans see is important for their future. And it's going to be about who has promised to lower gas prices and lower grocery prices. That is Harris. And how are you going to make sure that our most basic freedoms that are at the core of who we are as Americans are protected? The right of families to make their own family planning decisions, free from government interference, to send our kids to school, safe from gun violence, and a point that's especially important here in Nevada.
Yeah.
And to be able to love who you love without government interference.
Right.
And that is Kamala Harris. It is not Donald Trump.
Agree 100%. And that's why I'm on the Harris train as well, and she has my full support. Forgive me, one more question about your brother, and then I want to talk more about the Harris campaign. What do you think has happened to your brother? I hear all these weird stories, the bear story, which I'm sure you heard of. That's a bizarre one. This head of a whale story that I heard of. A lot of really bizarre stories about your brother. And my question to you is, do you feel like he's changed a lot over the years, or is this the guy he always was?
Well, I think that his anti-vaccine work is a dramatic change from his commitment to environmental policy. Bobby was our country's leading environmental lawyer and activist on water rights, and he did a lot of good. I love Bobby. He's an amazing human being in a lot of ways, and I think if you listen to him speak, and I know he's been on your show. A lot of what he says, he's very charismatic, and it rings true. So that's what makes him dangerous in this campaign, because people can follow him down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And that's very dangerous to our democracy, to our families, to our future, and to jobs, basic jobs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And, he once made the case on this show that Joe Biden could be more of a threat to our democracy than Donald Trump. Now, I obviously disagree with that. I'm sure you do as well. Can we talk about Trump for a moment, Kerry? This is a guy that still doesn't concede the 2020 election. This is a guy who's a 34-count felon and a liable sexual abuser. I'm not sure how anybody could vote for this guy at this point, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, especially from a female's perspective. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kerry?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He said he'll be a dictator on day one, and that he's willing to suspend the Constitution in order to take revenge against those who do not support him, and that he'll send the IRS after journalists and opposition political figures and ordinary citizens who have not supported him. He's pledging to repeal the Affordable Care Act and cut Social Security and Medicare, leaving millions without the programs they rely on. A few weeks ago, he was talking to Elon Musk and on Twitter, and he praised Musk as the greatest cutter, quote unquote, telling him, quote, "Look at what you do. You walk in, you say you want to quit, they go on strike, and you go, you're all gone." Unquote. This is not a man who cares about workers. People in our country are working now 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the rent and put the food on the table.
Absolutely.
That is not what we need going into the future.
Agree.
Harris, on the end, has sent $1 billion, $1 billion into Nevada alone, primarily for housing and for manufacturing jobs, but good union jobs where people are building these housing units. And she's just announced an additional 3 million housing units nationwide and $25,000 grant to every single American family to buy their first house. So this is concrete plans.
Yeah.
This is not pie-in-the-sky ideas. It's concrete plans that will change lives for people living in this great state.
Kerry, last question for you. Again, if you're just joining us, we're happy to have Kerry Kennedy joining us on the show. Of course, the sister to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She's the president of the RFK Human Rights Organization, a wonderful woman doing so many wonderful things to help people. Let's talk a little bit about Nevada. Obviously, Nevada, a very important swing state. I'm sure you would agree with that. This race is very, very close right now, but there's a lot of momentum with the Harris campaign. I'm sure you would agree. For somebody that is on the fence right now, they don't know who to vote for. And there are some people out there like that where either they say they're not going to vote, maybe they don't like either candidate. They're moderate Republicans. I speak to a lot of moderate Republicans, Kerry, every day. They're very anti-Donald Trump, but they're not yet ready to vote for Kamala Harris. What would you say to them?
Well, I think let me just tell you about how I came to know Kamala Harris. I saw her give a speech at the United States Senator on combating climate change, and I thought she's very smart. And then I saw her as a presidential candidate 4 years ago walking a union picket line. And as vice president, she broke the tie with the Senate that allowed passage of the Bush-Lewis Act, which restored the pensions of more than 1 million workers. And I thought, she's very smart and she's pro-union. Mm-hmm. And then I saw her questioning Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings. And I thought, she's pro-union, very smart, and she's comfortable being tough to someone who represents our threat to our rights. And then I invited her to speak at an event commemorating my father, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, who died in 1968. And during that, she quoted from heart remarks my dad made when Martin Luther King died. And she quoted, "What we need in this country is not division, and lawlessness and hatred towards one another. But we need justice and peace and compassion towards those who suffer. And that's it. Justice, peace, and compassion towards those who suffer. That's what we want our president to stand for.
Yes.
Not all this division and anger and rage of Donald Trump.
I agree.
And chaos.
I agree 100%. I lied. I know you got to run. One more quick question, if that's okay. If you had the opportunity to say something to Donald Trump, if you were in a room with him privately and you had a chance to say something to him, what would you say?
I would say, you've been in politics, you've been in business, now why don't you retire and let our country run in peace and justice and compassion towards those who suffer.
Very, very well said. Kerry, thank you so much for what you do at, as the president of the RFK Human Rights Organization. You do so many things to help so many people in this country. You're very brave, and I appreciate you campaigning for Harris. Your voice matters, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. Love to have you back on, maybe before the elections, and I really appreciate your time, Kerry. Enjoy your time here in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.